All right, this is part 3. Welcome back. This is part 3. We got the chart for the first eclipse of 2023. So here we go. We're going to take a look at some of the aspects. I know for those who have their own charts that helps. All right. So you see the two arrows here. We've got the sun and the moon pointing at the eclipse degrees, right? 2950. So that's 30 degrees of Aries energy. Now, 2-degree orb. 2 degrees, all right? So that would mean that we're looking at 28, and look at this chart. Look at all the stuff we have at this degree. At 28 degrees, right? We've got Vulcan, we've got Estrella. They're really 29, 28, 29 degrees. So they're conjunct this. Vulcan is something material and tangible. Okay, that's that V you see there. Estrella is kind of like some pit bull energy. Like, I'm not going to give in. I won't give up. I'm yeah, it won't let something go. It's very, what's the word? Persist. It's very persistent energy is Estrella energy. Yeah, pit bull might not be the nicest way, but in Aries, I'm thinking pit bull is probably appropriate, right? So then the other 2 degrees going the other way would be just like this chart is showing you. Yeah, 2 degrees of Taurus. Yeah, 2 degrees of Taurus. So right there, the green lines that I've drawn is 28 degrees of Aries and 2 degrees of Taurus. Okay, that gives us the orb for having something conjunct this new moon solar eclipse. Okay, so what that means is something is definitely going to happen. All right, if you've got something within those degrees, likely this is that something will happen before the day of this eclipse. Because typically, if you have something at those matching degrees, it starts, you start to see it tangibly, materially in your life. Like, there's things happening. You're making phone calls, you're changing plans, there's just little things here and there, right? Things are starting to happen. Now, having it in having the Taurus energy near there and having the eclipse, the actual, I should say the node, not the eclipse, but having the node in Taurus, so it could have to do with whatever you value. And I would just use an example for myself. I'll just bring my mother into this and everything that she is going through currently right now. And so the values, right? It doesn't have to be your mother necessarily, but if you value your mom, if you value anybody in your life as far as a relationship and money, if money is involved, like for my mom, it's like, okay, so mom is going to go from independent living and she's probably going to need to be in assisted living. Well, then that's a conversation that involves money, right? Assisted living costs a whole heck of a lot more money. So that's just a way to see an example of how those sort of conversations and things are already could be happening in your life. And it, again, does not have to do with your mother. It has to do with whatever you value. Okay. And so if anybody, has other examples, I would love to hear them. Give me some examples in the comments. But what's interesting is being in the sign of Aries, think about what money does for a lot of people. It gives them their freedoms, right? Their ability to come and go as they please, or to not have to do certain things because they can afford to have others take care of those things for them. Yeah, money can give a lot of freedom, right? And so Aries energy, the freedoms of my body, that there's just, yeah, we all have free will. So this can be a whole lot of different ways that this shows up in your life. So when you find those degrees in your own chart, 29, right? So we're looking at 28 degrees of Aries to 2 degrees of Taurus. You're going to be looking for the house number. Okay. So in this chart, as an example, for the example in this chart, those degrees, the 28, look, this is still in this person's ninth house. Okay. It's right on that eighth house going into the ninth house cusp line, because it's their ninth house cusp. I'm sorry. Yeah. Their ninth house cusp line is 1 degrees of Taurus. You see that? That's their ninth house cusp line. It's at 1 degrees of Taurus right there. Okay. So it encompasses their eighth and their ninth house. So if it is in both, which a lot of you out there have charts just like that, it is involving our shared values because it's the eighth house. So it's not just about what I value, but whoever else I have shared values with. Okay. And then the ninth house is your beliefs. It's also about, like your philosophy on life and your religion and ethics and morality. All that falls into the ninth house. So these are big topics. Now, on a larger scale, when we go beyond our family, we look at the Aryan energy and we see Jupiter and Chiron and Jupiter at 23 conjunct Eris. Well, that Jupiter and Eris is feminine energy. So this makes me think of women and the rights to their bodies. My body, my choice. And Jupiter is the judges and the courtroom and the judicial system. Taffy's at the door. I'm going to have to stop and go open it. But then we see Mars over here. The sign of Cancer is mothers. Yeah, it is mothers. Hold on a second. Let me let this little one out. How did you get in here, you little beast? Yeah, got to teach you to get some paws, some thumbs. There you go. Okay. Family, and do I want a family? Am I going to be actually creating? Am I, the right to me and my choices about having a baby or to not have a baby? Mars squaring Chiron, right? Wounds of my body. And yeah, there's like a whole other lot of other ways also that people can have wounds with their body. There's all the stuff with the police brutality and people, racial judgments being based, people just being treated a certain way because of the way they look, the color of their skin. And yeah, they're not the only ones. Like there's a whole lot of other things going on for folks based on who they appear to be. Yeah. And a lot of not so hot things, a lot of very negative and restrictive and forceful and aggressive things happen to people, right? And so I'm only mentioning this because we've got Jupiter here, and Jupiter is can be the judges, and there could be the judicial system and creating having that effect on laws and stuff like that, right? In the courtroom. Supreme Court, that's the word I kept searching for. 4 degrees of Taurus is a thing here. We'll go purple. 4 degrees of Taurus. Yep, our values. That's your north node. At the opposite end, the south node. What are we releasing? South node is all about a release, and it's a big release because it's Scorpio energy, and Scorpio is about releasing. By nature, that is a thing that's natural for Scorpio energy to release, because Taurus is the intake. It's how I receive. It's coming to me. Where Scorpio is, it's leaving my hand, right? It's what I'm putting out, or it's what I'm letting go of and releasing. And then so is the south node. It's like been there, done that. It's the past. I don't depend or rely on this anymore, or I don't hold this as a value anymore. I'm releasing those shared values. Scorpio, release south node. Yeah. And so at 4 degrees in Taurus, 4 degrees of Aquarius, and 4 degrees of Leo would be angles that would be squared up. That could be very uncomfortable, right? That could create some uncomfortableness. So I'll just draw those lines right there. And so those are some lines for those who may have something at those degrees. When we think of the eclipse, we don't normally refer to squares when we talk about an eclipse. Typically, when we have eclipse energy, we only talk about the point of the eclipse itself and its opposition. So the opposite of 30 degrees of Aries is going to be 30 degrees of Libra. And look what we have. Look what we have here. We don't see that we have anything, right? I know. Did I make a mistake? Not really, because what we do have, Mother Goddess, the fertility symbol right there, Humea, that's who this is. And so she's at 0 degrees, right? Yeah, she's at 0 degrees. 0 degrees is the opposition to this eclipse. And Humea is the ability to restore. It kind of is the legend or the myth, the story is it's the Hawaiian goddess of nature and the ability for the Hawaiian goddess. She's got like the story is she's got like this stick. I forget what they call it, like a maki stick or something. And after destruction, she comes through and she kind of waves her magic wand. And, where there was once destruction and no life, there suddenly is life and it's prospering and there's abundance and beauty. And so interesting because that's at the opposition of this eclipse. So I think our shared values in the sign of Scorpio, that's going to be a thing here. That's going to be important to not ignore that, because when we think of our shared values, these could be people you're in business partnerships with. These could be people that you're married to. These can be people that you're related to by blood, because this is typically like insurance money, right? People that you get inheritances from. These are taxes too. Like we got to pay our taxes. Remember I said it's money that kind of goes out, paying taxes. That's also related to Scorpio money. So it's interesting to see that there and to know that that south node of release is there at 4 degrees. So they're kind of really all part of this. Absolutely. And again, to find out where something is in your chart, if you're not sure, just comment to me and we can figure this out. So again, on that north node, which I didn't get to this part of it, but if you have something at 4 degrees in Aquarius over here and 4 degrees of Leo at this time, yeah, these moon's nodes, right, they're kind of angling. They're going to be kind of angling and setting up that great cross energy, which can be uncomfortable. But here's the good news. These nodes don't just sit still here, right? Sometimes they linger and they hang around. When they get down to these last few degrees of Taurus, they start moving. Yeah. And by halfway through this year, these nodes will be out of Taurus and they will be where this eclipse is. 29 degrees, 30 degrees of Aries. That's coming this year. Yeah, that's where I think it's June that we'll be feeling that. If there's any questions, let me know and I will help you in any way that I can. Hope you've enjoyed this segment. And if you are still with me, if you've watched all of these, you are a trooper. Bless your soul. Bye-bye. Below the video, I'll have all the degrees for those of you who like to pay attention to the degrees in your chart. Again, if you don't know and you want to know, just comment below.